Shaq Leonard, he's an Eagle. Reinforcements on their way. How good the reinforcements are? We'll find out. We're going to talk about that and so much more. Trending in the AM with your thoughts and opinions live in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We are live. You know the drill of liking, sharing, subscribing, following, hitting all those buttons you can to help grow the algorithm. The more likes, the better. The more comments, the better. The more opinions, the better. I'd greatly appreciate it. I am your host, Phil Stiefel. You can follow me and find me on any social media platform that I'm on. At the Beard of Knowledge right there, as you see on the bottom of the screen. And we got lots to talk about today in Eagles Nation. Go Birds, Zach. What is up this morning? How you doing? We got lots to talk about today. Eagles did what we hoped and what we thought they needed to do yesterday by signing free agent linebacker, former All-Pro linebacker Shaq Leonard to the squad. And there's a lot to say about it, a lot to think about it. And, good morning, CJ. How you doing today? Go Birds, absolutely. And, I kind of feel at peace right now. Before we get into Shaq Leonard, before we get into literally yesterday, from social media and my mind, I've got 2 pages of notes of random Eagles topics, one Phillies, two Sixers topics as well. I got 2 pages of notes of things that just popped into my head that I want to talk about. But before we do, I gotta say, I really, really feel at ease right now after the Eagles loss on Sunday. Literally within 24 hours of that loss ended. By the time yesterday was over, I kind of just felt I'm ready to move on. And I hope the Eagles players and team feel the same way. Look, you got smacked in the mouth, nothing you could do about it. You move on from it. You learn from it, you fix your holes, you fill your holes, and you get going. And I kind of feel that way. Like, I know what went wrong on Sunday. I hope the Eagles know what went wrong on Sunday. And one of the first things that went wrong that they have already fixed is their linebacker crew, which it was atrocious on Sunday. I mean, Nicholas Morrow might have had one of the worst linebacker performances of all time. And we went out and we got Shaq Leonard. Now, Shaq Leonard is no All-Pro former. He's a former All-Pro linebacker, but he ain't no All-Pro anymore. But that does not mean he cannot help this team. That does not mean he isn't going to provide depth to this team. It doesn't mean it's not going to help. What is up, K1? How you doing this morning? No late arrival for you today. And good morning, Adam. How you doing this morning? What is going on? My phone is spinning. I hope my internet's working. Yeah, I think we're good to go here. The Shaq Leonard thing. What's to say? Flyers, another big win. I didn't even know they played last night. Oops. Didn't watch that one last night. I don't even know. I kind of just surfed social media and had Monday Night Football in the background. Shout out to Trevor Lawrence. Kind of brutal there. We'll touch on that a little later in the show. But Shaq Leonard, what are we getting in Shaq Leonard right now? Shaq Leonard, he's 28. He'll be 29. When's his birthday? After the season, he'll be 29. Again, he's a 4-time All-Pro, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, he was a darn good football player with the Colts for 4 years. Last year, injured. This year, very mediocre play. And people are going to expect an awful lot out of Shaq Leonard because of the linebacker situation, because Nicholas Morrow was so bad on Sunday. Zach Cunningham, whether he'll be back or not this week, we don't know. But Shaq Leonard can only improve. I mean, just think about it. We had Christian Ellis, Nicholas Morrow, and Ben Van Summerham, who didn't actually play a defensive snap on Sunday. 3 guys that weren't on the roster to start the season. They were our linebackers. It's not good. Uh, Once the game was a no-win situation, I moved on to Dallas. We clearly missed that Cunningham, and field goals don't cut it against winning teams. We should have been up 14, not 6. Yeah. And CJ, I moved on too. I didn't move on in the heat of the moment as quickly as you may have, but I moved on. I'm focused on Dallas and what Shaq Leonard's going to do. And I look at Nicholas Morrow. I was not a Nicholas Morrow fan coming out of training camp. I didn't have him on my 53-man roster. Well, at least I did before Miles Jack decided to retire and now unretire. But Brock Purdy threw 314 yards on Sunday. 213 of them were yak yards. So if we figured out the tackling and stuff like that, maybe the game would have been different. But Nicholas Morrow, out of those 14 yards of passing that Brock Purdy had, 175 of them were against Nicholas Morrow. 151 of the 213 yak yards came against Nicholas Morrow. Nicholas Morrow had an awful game on Sunday. I mean, think about that. He gave up 151 of just yak yards. That's missed tackles. It's bad routes to tackles. So bad. And look, I'm not going to crush Nicholas Morrow totally. You know, him and Zach Cunningham have been good. Him and Christian Ellis, not so good. Not as much chemistry there. Monday Night Football is fantastic. I fell asleep before the end of the game, Zach. I won't lie. But then I saw this morning that Trevor Lawrence fell asleep or hurt himself. I'm seeing some reports of bad sprain. I'm seeing some reports of a broken tibia. Whatever it is, I hope it's okay because football's better with Trevor Lawrence playing. Not expecting anything from Shaq Leonard until the playoffs. Well, unfortunately, K1, he's going to have to do something this week in Dallas. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he could just take 4 or 5 weeks to figure it out. He's got to come in and make plays right away. We're going to rely on him, especially if Zach Cunningham is not back out there. He's going to have to play a significant amount of snaps on Sunday because we can't run with just Ellis and Morrow against Dallas Cowboys this week. With Shaq's injuries, I feel he's the rotational player, probably 3rd, 4th down player. Matt, yeah, I mean, he's been hurt. This year, he played 9 games this year and played 70% of the snaps. So last year was the injury year. This year, I don't know. But he was playing 70% of the snaps of the games he played this year. So a third option, I kind of feel like when everybody's healthy, when Zach Cunningham's back and you got Morrow, Cunningham, and Shaq Leonard, you rotate the 3 to keep them fresh. So I am curious on how that rotation will go for sure. But Sunday, if Zach Cunningham's not back, he's going to have to step in and play 70-80% of the snaps. He's just going to have to. I think he may fix our middle of the field box coverage. We got torched there. We got torched in the middle of the field. Like, there's no doubt whatsoever about that. We were really bad in the middle of the field on Sunday. The yak yards. I mean, literally, 213 of the 314 yards of Brock Purdy were yak yards. And a lot of that came in the middle of the field. A lot of it was Deebo. And asking Nicholas Morrow to cover or tackle Deebo Samuel, it's a big ask. So while the numbers say Nicholas Morrow had an awful game, and he did, I also want to give him, the benefit of the doubt that he was kind of put in a situation that he was going to fail no matter what. I felt the game was over when they went up 7-6. I just knew Jalen Brian Johnson was going to dial up some BS offense in the next drive, and the defense was going to back out. Felt like Chip's tenure. That's interesting. I kind of had a bad feeling when we kicked the field goal on that second drive, Marshawn. When Jalen tripped and fell, it turned into a big sack. It was a big play. It wasn't a big sack. Big moment, not a big sack. Greg Olson, just letting you know. I kind of had a bad feeling at that point right there. But that's just what it is. Here's a question: what are your thoughts on this signing of Penny? Haven't seen anything from him. Also with Julio, Matt. I want to call you Mighty Mac. Sorry, that's a little inside joke. Matt Mack. Um, Penny and Julio. It's funny because, like I said, at the beginning of the show, I've got 2 pages of notes. And I got something written down here on Rashad Penny somewhere because, all right, there it is. Okay. I saw somebody post something about, Rashad Penny's the power back we need. Why isn't Rashad Penny in? I don't think Rashad Penny would make much of a difference at this point. First and foremost, if he's not been dressed, maybe he just doesn't have it anymore. Maybe he just doesn't have anything left in the tank. But they're saving the roster spot for now, just in case of an injury. Secondly, the team doesn't run the ball early anyway. Third, when they're down or in a high-scoring game, they don't run the ball at all. And fourth, where are the touches going to come? I mean, Kenny Gainwell's not touching the ball much at all anymore. So where are the Rashad? So you want to add, I'm not saying you, but people want Rashad Penny out there. Then they're just going to complain that DeAndre Swift doesn't touch the ball enough. So I'm not sure Rashad Penny is anything more than a depth piece in case something happens to DeAndre Swift. That's it. Julio, I don't think Julio's got anything left in the tank. He's not getting much separation. He's almost like a glorified extra tight end now that runs as a wide receiver. And that's about it there. Kevin Byard apparently has been the best coverage player we've had, and he was good yesterday, as per Eagles beat reporters. He's settling in. Look, I won't say that anybody was good in coverage on Sunday. I know some of the numbers say Byard or Slay had good games on Sunday. And yes, I've already said that Nicholas Morrow had the most awful game ever from a linebacker, statistically speaking. But I'm not going to put the blame of Sunday on any one player. Everybody on that defense just stunk on Sunday. Just completely stunk. So I don't know if I agree with that statement from the beat reporters there. I'm going to just say the defense stunk as a unit, and I think that's a very fair way of saying it, in my opinion. This is what Shaq wanted. More snaps. Maybe Colts wasn't giving him as much. I don't know, Armand. I mean, we're all excited that we're bringing in a former All-Pro, just like we were excited when we brought in former All-Pro Kevin Byard. And we saw what we got out of Kevin Byard. Okayness at first. He's trended up as he's learned the system and the team. But he's still not the All-Pro he once was. And Shaq's the same way. It can't get much worse than it's been. I think that's pretty much the bulk of it right there. That your linebackers stink, and he's a little bit better. He's a little bit more experienced. He's a little bit more polished. He'll be able to come in this week. He's going to be in the NovaCare complex today, I'm sure, signing his contract, doing his physical and whatnot. And he'll be out there in practice on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So he's going to be given an opportunity on Sunday. It's a lot to ask of. New team, new system, new co-linebackers, whatnot. There's going to be a learning curve. He chose us because he saw our linebacker core was lacking. I seen his highlights. Shaq is a problem on defense. Want to see him getting fumbles like he did in the Colts. And Armand, and that's what I hope too. But let me pull up. I got his pro reference chart up here of all the things. So yes, he forces a lot of fumbles. Well, he hasn't forced a fumble since 2021. Just so you know, he forced 8 in 2021, and he hasn't had one since. So he's got 17 forced fumbles in his 6-ish year career, and I say 6-ish because last year he only played 3 games, but 17 in 6-ish years. But they were all in the first 4 years. So he was averaging over 4 a year, and then he hasn't had one since. So I hope we get the hungry Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard's only 28. He's got time for another big contract. He goes out and balls out this week and the rest of the season. Someone will give him, not Philly, because we know they won't. Someone will give him money. Should we start considering some type of coaching change on both sides? I don't think so. I think the concept of coaching changes at this point of the season, when you're a 10-2 football team, is a little bogus. Is a little unnecessary. It's a little bit of counterproductive. Guys, let's. Everybody's frustrated after Sunday. I get that. I was too. But remember, we're 10-2. Okay, we still have the best record in the NFL. And on top of that, if I would have told you before the season started that going into this week against Dallas, we'd be 10-2, You just don't know how you're going to get there. Every single person would have said I was nuts. There's no way we'll be 10-2. There's no way we'll be 3-1 in this start of this gauntlet. No way, no way, no way. Yes. Have the coaches been perfect? Absolutely not. But in NFL, that is below average this year, very mediocre. Everybody's bunched together, lots of 7-5 teams and whatnot, 6-6 teams. I will take 10-2 over all that because this is one hell of a tough schedule. Not just teams, but timing, days, everything. So, no, I am not considering it. Not one bit at this point. Do I want them to be better? I absolutely do. Our D is a collection of young guys still learning and old guys who are pretty close to wash. Yeah, it's kind of funny, K1, the way you phrase that. It is. You got a bunch of major vets like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, Shaq Leonard, Darius Slay, and then you got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Kids that are like just barely popping pimples. There's no in the middle at all with this defense at all. And that's kind of hilarious that you said that. Good teams do their homework. The offensive play calling needs to change it up, and defensively, we lack critical playmakers in key areas. Honestly, outside of our defensive line, Hassan Reddick, maybe Jalen Carter, we don't have any playmakers on defense. I mean, really, like, if you need a big play, you need a big turnover, you need a big thing to happen, we don't got it. That's actually a really fair statement right there. Steelers were 7-4 when they canned their offensive coordinator. I know, but they also had gone 56 games without having a 400-yard performance, or 58. It was almost 60 games straight under their offensive coordinator that they didn't have 400 yards. So it wasn't a 10 or 11 game sample size, Marshawn. Matt Canada or whatever Canada, Hal to Canada, whatever his name was. It's not like it was his first day on the job. He's been struggling in Canada as the offensive coordinator for a long time. So there's a big difference there, Marshawn. Brian Johnson's been our coordinator for 12 games. All right. For those of us who did college sports, fatigue and health are major factors to performance. Oh, for sure. And I see plenty of people on social media saying, who cares if the Eagles only played 3 games in 13 days? That's no excuse for their performance. Dude, those guys were gassed on Sunday. There's no doubt about it. Our defense is old, especially in the secondary. Absolutely. Our defense is old in the quarterbacks. Our safeties are kind of Byard now brings that age up, but Blankenship's young. Justin Evans he's not playing. Sidney Brown's young. So I would say youngish in the secondary for sure. But our linebackers, and I was thinking during this Shaq Leonard signing yesterday, and it's just the overall philosophy of the organization not to spend money at the linebacker position. You spent about $6 million this offseason on Cunningham, Morrow, Ellis, Nakobe Dean. About $6 million was spent on linebackers this year before the Shaq Leonard signing. And we had last year, now I'll bite it, I wasn't as high as other people were, but you had solid linebacker play in T.J. Edwards and Kazir White. T.J. Edwards signed a 3-year, $19 million deal where you could get out of it after 1 year for a very small cap hit. Kazir White only signed for 2 years, $10 million. Get out of it after 1 year if you wanted to. So you spent $6 million to build around Nakobe Dean instead of spending $12 million and building around Nakobe Dean with Edwards and White. At what point will Howie Roseman have to realize that his philosophy of not paying linebackers might have to change in this new day and age? And I see this. Yes, T.J. Edwards was bad in coverage, but he was a good run stopper. He had a good season. I'm with you. I thought he tailed off at the end of the year. I'm not a T.J. Edwards supporter, but T.J. Edwards is better than Brandon Morrow or Nicholas Morrow and Christian Ellis and stuff like that, massively. And Kazir White was the coverage linebacker. He was okay last year. He's doing okay this year, but Kazir White is better in coverage than Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham. So you downgrade it. And a big piece of this whole linebacker puzzle is the fact that Nakobe Dean has been hurt. The reason why we need Shaq Leonard is because Nakobe Dean even if Nakobe Dean stayed healthy, we don't know how he would have turned out this year. He was very mediocre in his small little sample size, but he's been so hurt we can't really judge him. They built their team. They built their linebacker group around an injury-prone college linebacker that they had high hopes on. He spent the whole entire year basically injured, and now it backfired. But if you had at least one of Edwards or Kazir White, maybe we would have had, instead of say Morrow or instead of Ellis, maybe things would be different right now. So I put some of the blame of this on Howie Roseman. He spent a lot of money on Darius Slay and James Bradbury, and it seems like that might have been the wrong decision. Maybe you spend a little bit less of that. I don't know what they would have done at cornerback without it. I saw somebody say on Twitter yesterday that they should have drafted one of the top cornerbacks and not Jalen Carter. That just shocked me because Jalen Carter's a beast and he's going to be here for a long time, hopefully, and one of the best. But, we already had a pretty deep defensive line at that moment. So I don't know. I just think Howie Roseman has learned from his mistakes in the past. And he's not drafted TCU wide receivers or Stanford wide receivers. He's changing his philosophy, not reaching anymore, just grabbing great talent from great college programs. Now the next evolution of Howie Roseman needs to be figuring out this linebacker position going forward for this team. I see a front office comment here. Front office didn't want to pay their playmaking safety last year. I like Byard because he brings semblance of stability to the back end, but we need playmakers in the secondary. Yeah. Like if you need a big turnover, if you need a team to just make a stop and make a play, we don't got any guy like that. Now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that whole situation, I don't know what happened there, honestly. Like it just fell to pieces. He made it just did, and I was okay that they moved on from him. I was okay they brought back Slay and Bradbury as well. Now, would I've liked them to pay him a little bit less, have a few less years? Sure. Spread that money out to other positions? Sure. But the percentage of cap that's committed to Bradbury and Slay versus the percentage of your cap this year that's committed to your entire linebacker room is so drastic. And again, this is not a knock on Slay and Bradbury. They're great cornerbacks at some point in their career. They're just north of 30, and it's starting to show a little bit. Itchy Poe, how you doing? CJ did force Howie's hand. He was ready to move on from Bradbury and cut. Yeah, honestly, and I remember having this conversation on this show, Marshawn, that if Chauncey would have accepted the first contract that was offered to him, I don't even remember what it was. Was it like 326 or something like that? I forget. There were rumors, and if he would have accepted the first contract, Bradbury or Slay, one of them would not be here. Maybe neither would be here. And this whole season would be different. Maybe they don't draft Sidney Brown. Who knows? Like, so much changes in the offseason, which then changes the regular season if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Howie figure it out before he goes off elsewhere. So it's really crazy how Chauncey Gardner-Johnson shaped this defense by not being here. Imagine how brutal our D would be without Slay, especially knowing that Ricks and Ringo haven't developed yet as rookies, knowing that Avonte Maddox got hurt, knowing that Zach McPherson got hurt in camp. Imagine who would be out there. And again, everybody talking poorly on Slay and Bradbury, because they've dropped off so quickly. Remember one thing. Their performance last year was very good, but their performance was very good because our defensive line, our defense as a whole, had 70 freaking sacks in the regular season. Almost a record. The most sacks since 1985. I believe that's accurate. Don't fact check me on that. Like a great pass rush makes your cornerback's job so much easier. This year, we barely get home. We lead the league in almost sacks. Hence, Bradbury and Slay got to do more. The secondary has to do more. The linebackers got to cover longer, and they're getting exposed. So, there's a little bit of both there in that equation. Ends this the year how he finally realizes that linebacker's a position that needs more attention? I don't know, Peanut. I hope so. I really do hope so. Because something's got to change. And again, just think about it. I forget. I saw the numbers, and I have so many notes here today. Like if you think about it, it's like 15% committed to cornerbacks, and like 4% committed to linebackers in this league with the way offenses are run. You need to have linebackers that can tackle and linebackers that can cover. You do. You absolutely do. So something's got to give. Will he do it? He's figured it out in the past. We'll see if he does now. Imagine how he drafted Branch instead of Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith, like at this point, I don't even know what to think of Nolan Smith. I convinced myself that Nolan Smith was a draft pick for the future, the backup plan if Hassan Reddick has to get traded after this year. But now with Dark Barnett not here, his snaps are not going up any. And when he's out there, has Nolan Smith actually made a play yet this year? Like, I don't know. I know he's got 1 sack, I think, this year. Like, and because he's not, I want my first-round picks, even though we had 2 first-round picks. I want my first-round picks to be able to contribute immediately. Unless they're a quarterback and they're learning behind somebody, that's a different story. But I want my first-round picks to contribute. And Brian Branch has contributed in Detroit. He's had a very, very, very good rookie campaign. And him in our secondary right now, we might not have had a trade for Kevin Byard. And you have Brian Branch right now. That Kevin Byard trade could have been for somebody else that could have helped this team. The money you spent on guys could have gone. So much could have changed if you drafted Brian Branch. And I wanted Brian Branch. I don't do much draft coverage because I don't know the college game. But once we get close, I start diving into some of these guys that Eagles fans are hyped for. And Brian Branch was one I wanted, for sure. But Howie couldn't pass up the potential of Nolan Smith at 30, and I get that because you can never have enough pass rushers in the NFL. How much of a factor is the new defensive backs coach? That's a fantastic point. Slayton Badbury much better last year over the old one that went to Baltimore. And CJ, that's a great point. There could be something to that. Now, I was excited we got a new defensive backs coach. I didn't know anything about the new guy, but I was excited because we have struggled at developing cornerbacks over the last 5 years. Just think about how many 4th and 5th round cornerbacks Howie has brought in from other teams. Okay, like CJ McGowan. McGowan was one name. There was a whole bunch of guys over a couple years there from like 2020 to now. He kept bringing in all these guys, former picks that just weren't working out, trying to develop them, and none of them have developed. Most of them aren't even on the team anymore. They've had a serious struggle at developing young cornerbacks. And look, Ricks and Ringo could have had a moment this year. There have been opportunities for them, and they just haven't been able to step up and make the big plays when necessary, or impress to get on the field even. So, it's a problem that maybe the defensive back coach is an issue. There's definitely a possibility in that point there. We did, and Isaiah, what's his name? Isaiah Rogers, Marshawn, I think his name is the suspended guy from the Colts. It's a low risk, high reward move that Howie made. Problem is, will he develop? Will he become something? You know what I mean? Because, like I just said, we've tried so many guys. I mean, Zach McPherson, I know he got hurt this year, but he's been here for 3+ years and he can barely get on the field. So we are not developing our young cornerbacks very well in this organization. CJ, did we lose our ace defensive back coach? I mean, that's a possibility that's part of it. It really is. Nolan was out there the first series at least. I don't know after that. I saw him out there very early in the game came on. I don't know if it's the first series or not. And I just saw him just out of accident, not because he made a play. And then we didn't see him. I think he played 11 snaps on Sunday. Not much at all. I'm giving Nolan Smith at least. Oh, I'm not washed on Nolan Smith. Just to clear the air on this Nolan Smith Brian Branch conversation. Nobody's giving up on Nolan Smith's potential. We're giving up on the fact that he's a first-round pick not contributing, and there's another guy we could have or should have taken that is contributing. I like my first-rounders to contribute. He's not contributing it. Howie's got Nolan Smith as a big-picture piece, not a this-year piece. I just would like to see his 11, 12 snaps a game be a little bit more effective. That's all I'm saying there. I think we miss him more than it's been realized. Yeah, I mean, you're raising a fair point, CJ. I think personally I go more towards the pass rush not getting home, but the secondary coach could be a part of it for them. I mean, the old quarterback coach wasn't developing the young guys, but maybe Bradbury and Slay worked better under him. I don't know. Remember, we had the best pass coverage last year, top 5 in turnover differential and forced turnovers, but our defense coordinator couldn't make adjustments. Problem with Desai, he can't get the defense ready in the first half. Look, there's a lot of things. Again, we had the best pass coverage because we had the best pass rush. I put so much onus on our pass rush being the reason that we had so much success last year. That's my opinion. And the guys that we have out there, Slay and Bradbury, they're just not. They're just a year older. That's all there is to it. Oh wait, no Zach McPherson slander on here. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to. I know he's your cousin. I wish, yeah. But yeah, I'm not slandering him at all. I'm just bringing up the point that we haven't developed anybody that we've drafted or traded for that's under 25. Think about it. For the last how many years, all the quarterbacks have been traded for or free agent signings, not guys that we developed. When was the last time we developed a cornerback into a legit? I mean, I guess we developed Avonte Maddox, but Avonte Maddox, we kept bouncing around. He was outside cornerback, slot corner, safety, slot corner. He was all over the place. Plus, Avonte Maddox is always hurt. So that's another whole point there. That was the first thing I said, again, when they did promote him to defensive coordinator, the cornerbacks coach. Okay, gotcha. What was his name again? I forget. Zach McPherson burner account detected. We know the Kenny Gainwell burner account, and we know the Zach McPherson burner account now on this show, for sure. And as always, Will Smith doesn't have a burner account. He just goes under his real name. Also, our young linebacker coach is now the Cards defense coordinator. He turned TJ Edwards and White into good linebackers. Absolutely. And that was another guy that we could have promoted to defensive coordinator instead of Sean Desai. And look, I don't want to get into a bash Sean Desai because we're not doing that. We like Sean Desai. We don't love him, but we like him. He did turn TJ Edwards and Kazir White, who are both having very solid, okay-ish seasons based off of their stats. Just reading their stat profile. They're both playing okay this year. Better than Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham and, well, not Zach Cunningham, Christian Ellis did on Sunday. Think about it this way. I know they didn't have a quarterback. They basically were running the same type of offense, the 49ers. They just didn't have a cornerback last year in the playoff game because of the injuries. But do you think if you would have taken TJ Edwards and Kazir White, we have them in the linebacker position on Sunday versus Nicholas Morrow and Christian Ellis, does the results of the 49ers game change? That is a serious question that you have to ask yourself. And I say possibly, probably changes. And so Howie and how he allocates money to each position might have to change, big picture, because there's just not enough focus on this linebacker position. There just isn't. Rasul Douglas. What about Rasul Douglas? Did we develop him? We developed him and shipped him out. He's better not as an Eagle than as an Eagle. Andy had the best rule. If you get a head coaching job, you find your own staff and don't poach his. Yeah, look. People are going to poach. I don't get upset about that. Everybody wants a promotion. If you're going from a positional coordinator to, like, it's one thing if you poach my running backs coach to be your running backs coach. That's one thing. But all these guys want promotions to take the next step in their coaching careers. I can't hate a guy for poaching, to give a guy a promotion. That to me, that don't bother me too much. It doesn't. But again, back to this thing. Would the results of Sunday have been different if you had TJ Edwards and TJ Edwards and Kazir White, or even just one of them? Would the results on Sunday have been different if Nakobe Dean wasn't hurt? Would the results have been different if Zach Cunningham? I mean, the thing is, we spent next to nothing on our linebacker core this year. But two of the main pieces of our linebacker core, Nakobe Dean and Zach Cunningham, have injury histories in college and in the pros. So at some point, you had to assume that they were going to go down. So I don't know. Honestly, I think the Eagles let the emotions of the game overtake them. It's hard to focus on fundamentals when you're playing off of pure emotion. See, I get what you're saying, Peanut. I do. But the 49ers were playing on pure emotion, and they used that pure emotion to just stomp a mud hole through us. So there's the other end of that equation. Isn't Matt Patricia a member? He is. I don't know if he's a defensive consultant or a linebacker coach or he's something in the he's some assistant. He's assistant to the traveling secretary or something like that on the defensive side of the ball. Um, so maybe it's his fault because everybody hated him anyway. Darius Slay can't stand them supposedly, but they work together. I don't know. Maybe he's the root of all problems. I thought we were moving on from Sunday's game. We have moved on. We're discussing the theory of linebacker and whether Shaq Leonard's going to make a difference or not. And you kind of got to look back to look forward. Shout out to Eric and the astonishing Core 12. That's right. That's right. Hit that like button while you guys are here. Kaylin, we are at bargaining stage. I don't know. I'm not. We're not talking. We're over it. And yeah, Peanut wasn't here, so he wants to complain. Like we're not. We're moving past it, but you got to look back to look forward. For sure, you got to. Help me with Phil's therapy. I don't need therapy. I'm asking you guys questions. I'm asking, has Howie overlooked this position far too long? Because look, let's be honest. Shaq Leonard is Shaq Leonard. He's gonna help, but he's not going to be the final difference maker on this team. What's the rotation going to look like even? With or without Zach Cunningham? Hell, Nakobe Dean has not been officially ruled out for the season even at this point, I don't believe. Phil works backwards. From the stages of grief. He was at acceptance yesterday. Guys, I don't understand come on. Don't come after me. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Come on. You gotta understand. Senior defensive assistant. That is Matt Patricia's title. Yeah, that's an interesting title right there. I don't need therapy. Classic denial. Yeah. I don't need therapy. Adding Shaq is basically putting a Band-Aid over a cancer sore. I haven't heard it called that yet, Peanut. I have not. Interesting. And it's a Band-Aid. Let's be honest. Maybe not over a cancer sore, but it's a Band-Aid for sure. But in the right rotation, if you at least get Zach Cunningham back soon for the rest of the year, it can hold it together. It can give you 6 extra months. You know what I mean? Like, it can survive. But if anybody thinks he's going to come in here and be an all-pro, then they got another story to tell. But I think the bigger issue here is where Howie has allocated the money to start with. The signing of Leonard is honestly awful. Now we have 2 players named Darius who won't want to be called Darius. Yeah, I saw that. Didn't Darius Slay say something? That my name's Slay or something like that yesterday. I think I saw something about that. And what is Shaq Leonard's real name? Darius? I wouldn't even know that. If that's true, I don't even know that. Let's see. What does yeah, it does say it on his pro reference page. Darius Shaq Leonard. Man, that's interesting. I learn something new every day. I do. I need therapy too. I dream I kissed a beautiful young woman I never met before, and it wasn't my wife. I'm scared. Well, now that you put it out in public, she's gonna find out, Eric. Eric, you need protection. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, who knows? Man, we're getting way off topic here. Way off topic. With this here. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. Oh man. Now I have to refocus here. Now I have to refocus. While I'm refocusing, 40 minutes into the show, 15 likes. Got to do better. Got to do better on the likes. So what is the rotation going to look like? Will they just throw Shaq Leonard out there? If Zach Cunningham doesn't play, a lot of people are saying Shaq Leonard. Now a lot of people are saying the Shaq Leonard signing's awful, which is shocking to me how bad our linebackers played. But if Zach Cunningham does not play, are you going to roll out there with Morrow and Ellis again and have Shaq Leonard just waiting in the wings? Or are you going to put Shaq Leonard out there? Honestly, I've seen enough to know that I'm putting Shaq Leonard out there and the unknown versus more of what we don't what we already know, which is Morrow and Ellis aren't good enough to be out there together. Leonard with Morrow, Leonard with Ellis might be the smarter rotation at this point. Are we still talking about our extreme in the comments section here, guys? I need constructive comments to help this show go, not more Eric dream sequences. What is this like? What was that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, the Dream movie? We don't want to know what's going on Eric Dreams. We don't. We don't need to know. Unless they're Eagles related, we do not know. The signing is A plus. The player we sign might end up being a B to C. Yeah, so like the decision to get him, especially knowing that he also was considered in Dallas, who does need linebacker help as well, bringing in the best available linebacker on the market is a smart move. Look, Ndamukong Suh and Linville Joseph, we didn't know what they had left in the tank last year, and they provided a spark for sure that helped us get to and through the playoffs. And honestly, by bringing in those two guys, it pushed Jordan Davis aside even when he came back from injury. So, Shaq Leonard is going to help. It's just a matter of how much he helps. Question. What did the tape show from Robbie? It's being said that he had a really bad game as well. Well, Brandon Robbie is the slot corner. We got beat over the middle massively. I saw somebody write down everybody and how they performed. I only wrote down the linebackers stats. I thought I wrote down Slay and Bradbury too. Where did I write down all these stats? I got way too many stats. I gotta do color coded on my stats here. The stats say Bradbury and Slay had solid games on Sunday, and Morrow had a terrible game. Said that Christian Ellis had an okay game. So based off of what I know, it probably means Brandon Robbie, statistically speaking, played poorly. But he's the slot guy, and it just depends on I haven't watched the film specifically on him, but we got beat over the middle. Slot corners cover over the middle. So whether it was Morrow or Robbie, somebody was getting beat most plays over the middle. Although Deebo Samuel played well, Brandon Ayuk was fairly held in check. I don't know. I would have to go back and do some digging on Robbie, but he hasn't done anything special since he's brought here. He's been hurt. He's played okay. He's no Avonte Maddox in the slot. There is no doubt about that. But specifically speaking, I haven't seen the tape. I haven't seen anybody even mention his name, and I've been on Twitter the last 2 days, nonstop, CJ, nonstop, and I haven't seen one person mention his name, good or bad. So I don't know if that's good or bad. Back to football, yeah, exactly. You're in a 2-minute timeout, Eric. That's all I'm going to do. I'm hoping the Niners game was just a bad dream. We're going to get back to that in a second. Some of these other, because we got someone with a Dallas Star chiming in, worth the risk, decent signing. Hey, it's worth it, Lucio. And look, you know what? We can have fun with Cowboys people in here. We're not going to bash you. We're an open minded. The tagline is where your opinion actually matters. This show. Part of what makes the signing so good is that if we didn't sign him, Dallas was going to sign him, and you guys in Dallas need a linebacker too, with what's his name getting hurt, and again for the 400th time, Van Der Esch or whatever. So that part of it, in and of itself, makes the signing decent. That we're keeping him away from you, but also because we are desperately thin at the position. The linebacker rotation is fart juice, then turd sandwich, then followed by a schmegma. Yeah, basically. See, I'll even like the comment the Cowboys guy put up there. I'm hoping the 49ers game was a bad dream. And I'm going back to this comment from K1 because this is basically, if I was Nick Sirianni, this would basically be my message to the team. Yo, just move on. Forget about it. Block it out. Forget about it. Throw the tape away. Let's get back to work and focus on Dallas because there was no good in that game, especially defensively speaking. The Kevin Byard trade was an A grade. His production has been B minus. Yeah, I would lean towards the B minus versus the B side of that, Marshawn. But he took some time to adjust. But also, the trade was an A. His production was a B. But again, his production was like the Kevin Byard trade is very similar to Shaq Leonard. People expected 3 year ago Kevin Byard instead of realistically expecting who he was at this point. Shaq Leonard, do not expect 2021 Shaq Leonard. Expect 2023 Shaq Leonard, who is an okay player. I never sat on my sofa and been so happy. I didn't go on Sunday. Oh, that's right. You were supposed to go to the game on Sunday. I guess you did go. Didn't you ask me for a ride? I'm like, I don't go to games. Zach Cunningham hamstring injury is going to linger if it's serious. Ellis just can't get it done. Morrow is very mediocre. See, Nicholas Morrow was pretty better, was slightly better than mediocre when he had Zach Cunningham opposite. You take Zach Cunningham and his experience out, and you put Christian Ellis, big difference. That's what Shaq Leonard maybe can fill that Zach Cunningham, veteran leadership role next to Nicholas Morrow. And I agree. I hate hamstring injuries in sports, especially if you rush them back. I hate it because it can just linger and be a problem nonstop for so long. We as Eagles fans are in no position to bash anyone. Absolutely, Marshawn. That's why we keep it fresh here. We've had I had a 49ers fan on this show, Gavin, last week, and we had a very fair, logical conversation about the Eagles versus the 49ers. No bashing, very professional. I keep things I keep things cool. I don't trash talk like I used to. I want to have a very, fair conversation. So Cowboys fan, if he wants to pop in and comment, we welcome all Dallas Cowboys fans on this show, except for the trolls. That's funny because yesterday I always go back. I say it at the end of the show. I check all replay comments, and yesterday I had like 10 replay comments from 49er and Cowboys fans calling us trash and stuff. They're all just a bunch of trolls and trolling type comments, and I responded with a bunch of thumbs up to them all because it was hilarious. Right now, it shows Swift as questionable. Well, Swift got banged up pretty hard. We'll see. Practice is going to be interesting this week. Kittle was mid. George Kittle is far from mid. And even when he doesn't catch the ball, the things that George Kittle does in the blocking. Normally, most teams have two tight ends: the pass catching tight end and the run blocking tight end. Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll. Big difference between the players. George Kittle is both, and the best at both, basically. Like George Kittle is far from mid, and he I don't even have the stats up anymore, so I don't know. But he made some big plays, and there's a big Christian McCaffrey play, run on Sunday that was sprung by a major George Kittle block. I must have missed it in the flow of the game, but man, he came around, he shifted before the snap to the left side of the line, and he put a huge block on one of the linebackers and sprung McCaffrey for like a 20-plus yard run. And that's just what George Kittle does. Logical conversation with other fan bases takes mature people to come together. Rare occasion. Absolutely. Gammon and I last week was a very, very rare occasion. And you know what? It's very rare that Eagles and Cowboys fans can have a fair conversation. We just don't do that normally. But on this show, I like to keep it, mature. I like to keep an open mind. Convince me. You think the Cowboys are better than the Eagles? Convince me. I could be convinced. Probably not. But I can at least listen to your argument. And if I can't find holes, I'll say that, It takes time for players to adjust to a new system and new teammates, not freaking out Robbie or Byard, and not expecting Leonard to do much the next few weeks. Agreed. It does. The problem with Shaq Leonard is we need him to do something next week or this week. We need him to step in and produce immediately. We do. And that's at least he's coming in today on Tuesday, and we'll have 3 full practices, some walkthroughs, because that's all we really do, two out of 3 practices. But he'll have a full 5 days to study the playbook, to immerse himself in film and with Sean Desai's schemes. So at least there's that. But we are going to need him to step in immediately. I was never higher on George Kittle at any point of his career. He's also said we're coming for you every week when speaking about teams left they have to play. Yeah, I still respect the skill set. I still think he's a very underappreciated tight end because he doesn't put up the Kelsey type numbers in the NFL. But if I was picking a tight end, he's the best of pass catching and blocking um, combined together. Obviously, Kelsey's the best pass catcher out there. I wouldn't put outside of Kelsey. There might and Mark Andrews might be the only two tight ends I put ahead of Kittle in the NFL right now. We got to take what we experienced from 49ers and do it to the Cowboys. Absolutely. We got to just forget about the 49ers almost to an extent. Move on from the 49ers because whatever we did in the 49ers game, it just didn't work out. Core 12, we are far from mature in the comment section. I'm saying me as a professional likes to keep it mature. But even I, off air, I get very immature. But I try to keep it as mature as possible here. Somebody's got to reel you children in. Keep you children in line. Was 49ers and Cowboys game at Dallas or in San Francisco? The 49ers Cowboys game, let me see. 49ers. It was in San Francisco when the 49ers whooped up on the Cowboys. It was in San Fran. Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt is right. Or Tuesday, if you're a chap 12. It's Tuesday. Is that how he pronounces it? Tuesday. Tuesday. I can't even fake the accent right now. Very well. But look, back to these comments here. Look, the linebackers. I mean, I didn't want to spend the entire show talking linebackers, but with Shaq Leonard being the new name, obviously it brings a lot to the table to discuss. And I just can't get over the dollar amounts. Like no offense. Again, I was not a huge Kazir White TJ Edwards fan. But combined, you could have brought them both back for $12 million, basically on a 1-year deal. Because if you look at the deals they took, TJ Edwards at the end of this year, if you cut him, it was a $3 million cap hit next year. And that was it. If you brought TJ Edwards back and you cut him after 1 year, it was a $2.5 million cap hit. And that was it for cutting him. Combined, guaranteed this year, they're making like 12 something a million. So we really could have done so much more. Good morning, Chandler. How you doing? Thank you for the kind words. Any thoughts on the Eagles? The signing of Shaq Leonard, drop them and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Greatly appreciate it. And I'll have to check out your show. What's it called again? Bird's the Word. We'll have to check that out maybe later today. But how the season would have been different, even if you just brought one of those linebackers back. If Howie Roseman just valued the position a little bit more, how much different it would be. And again, I think the big picture of the linebacker situation really falls on the Nakobe Dean situation. It really does. Like, I was a huge fan of the idea of bringing Nakobe Dean in here. Huge fan of drafting him in the 3rd round. A very low risk, high reward because it was a 3rd round pick, not a 1st round pick. Yeah, I knew the injury history and whatnot. But I still don't get, why Howie had so much faith in him staying healthy and not having bigger pieces behind him. I also wonder if the Miles Jack retiring had anything to do with the way this season has played out at the linebacker. He might not have anything left in the tank, but if he decides to stay with the Eagles and not retire and then come back, and you have Zach Cunningham, him, Morrow, all there, maybe we're a little deeper. So maybe it's not just that Howie Roseman doesn't value the linebacker position. His decision making was flawed this offseason, who he chose to replace TJ Edwards and Kazir White. Not just the dollar amount spent, but every person he brought in here just was the wrong guy. Whether borderline retirement, injury prone, whatever it may be. Eagles defense is ranked the last in the NFL against the pass. With all the money Howie invested in cornerbacks, the size job is in jeopardy. Man, that's a tough pill to swallow, that Sean Desai's job's in jeopardy. Now, I don't think we have to worry about Sean Desai getting poached for a head coaching job. If anything, you got to question Howie. Look, we have gotten to the point where we don't question anything Howie does anymore. In Howie, we trust. But I think it's okay at this point in the season to bring to the table the question of some of Howie's decision making. We coming into the season, we're like, Howie had the best offseason ever. Well, now hindsight's 2020. He might not have had the best offseason ever. Spending that money on Slay and Bradbury that could have been allocated to other positions. Now, if you allocate that money elsewhere, who plays the position of Slay or Bradbury? It's another question. We could be bouncing around. If we don't pay Slay and Bradbury and we pay linebackers, then we could be bouncing around cornerbacks nonstop. So there's a lot that goes into it. Maybe Howie's forced to make a trade for one of those top tier cornerbacks that were available. Like, so there's two ends of the equation there also. But I don't think Sean Desai's job's in jeopardy yet. I wouldn't say that. Because the defense as a whole, they might be last in pass. But obviously the numbers are skewed after last week's loss to the 49ers. But total points and run defense is still very solid. So, and outside of last week, our second half defense has been very good. So I wouldn't say his job's in jeopardy, but we do have to question some of it. And look, mister, you've been here a long time. You know, I was more concerned about Sean Desai before the season than Brian Johnson. I said Sean Desai was only a coordinator for 1 year in his career. And he totally bombed in Chicago in 2021. I'll buy it. That was a terrible Bears team, terrible head coach, terrible organization at the time. Still is to an extent. But, I questioned Sean Desai and the decision there. For sure. Just saying. But I don't think his job's in jeopardy just yet. Nakobe had no history of Liz Frank injury. That was just a freak thing. Injury-prone players keep getting injured, whether it's Liz Frank, ankle, knee, elbow, shoulder. One injury leads to another, which leads to another, which leads to another. I'm not criticizing Nakobe Dean for being injured. What I'm doing is I'm criticizing Howie Roseman for thinking Nakobe Dean would play a season. Just like I know Dallas Goedert injury. It's a broken arm. Was a freak thing on a dirty play. For sure. But not having a backup tight end that could fill in properly. When your guy had already missed 5 games 2 of the last 3 years. Not having a proper slot cornerback. And knowing Avonte Maddox misses time every year. Not having proper linebackers. You want to go with Nakobe Dean? Sure. But you better damn have a backup plan when he gets hurt because he will get hurt. Just saying. The Eagles need to put on Dr. J shorts and do Phil I'm famous Rocky 3 beach training montage to cover the worst movie scene of all time. All time. Nirvana fallacy. It's a thing. I'd pay $200 super chat to see that. Yeah. Stephen A says the Eagles win last year is you know what? It's funny you bring that up, Marshawn. I added it to my notes right here at the top of the page. Nope, this page. There it is. There it is. It says legitimize our NFC championship. Stephen A. Smith, man. All right, we'll get back to other thoughts and processes in a second. Because I see more coming in. Shaq Leonard coming in. We got a couple people comment on some things here. But God damn. Stephen A. Smith. How does Sunday's loss in the regular season to the San Francisco 49ers, the second best team in the NFL, how does that delegitimize what we did last year with a completely different team, different coordinators? How? Steve. Can I call you Steve? Stevie. That's ridiculous. Like, that is the dumb, like, there's a lot of dumb comments made in the media nationally against the Eagles, about the Eagles. That was the worst of them all. That's that. Just when it was literally a facepalm moment when I saw that. Like, literally. Nakobe Dean was a first-round talent that slipped into the third because of injuries. Absolutely. He gambled on him like he gambled on it. I agree. He's batting 600. We could dig deeper on that one, but yeah. Love the Leonard signing, not to induce PTSD, but look at Nick Bolton. He made an impact, green dot. Listening to Screaming A will reduce your IQ by 5 points. I'm just going to follow up on these comments, and we'll get back to them in a second. Leonard is washed. Very well. Could be. Also has the Niners win the Super Bowl. That says a lot. Stephen A. is the Jim Cramer of sports entertainment. Stephen A is a shock jock rating merchant. Tuned out. I don't watch those shows anymore, just so everybody knows. Segue into a $500 super chat. That's right, for the hard reset. All right, we'll get back to the comments in 1 second here. It is 9 a.m. in the morning, hour into our 90-minute show. You're watching Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We got 27 people watching right now, 20 likes on YouTube, 7 on Facebook. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that share button, subscribe button. We are here every day, 8 a.m. for the newbies that are jumping in today for the first time. But those likes and shares and subscribes help grow the algorithm, help grow the show every single morning. And I greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you doing that. And also, I greatly appreciate each and every one of you tuning in every single morning. But with that, the reset's over, and we're right back at it, right back to the comments. And there are so many Stephen A. Smith comments coming in because of that. Like, how many times do we have to have the national media narrative conversation on this show? Who does Dan Sileo root for? He hates the Eagles hard. I have no idea. I've tuned out all these guys. I only see these guys' comments when Stephen A. is a Cowboys fan. Stephen A. is a fan. Lucia, whoever the hot name is this week. Stephen A. is exactly what one of the other comments said. He is a shock jock radio. He went to the school of Howard Stern radio. There was at one point in his career, Stephen A. Smith was a legitimate reporter, specifically on basketball. His basketball work was very good back in the 90s. But he's just shock jock radio, shock jock TV, stealing wives. That's all he is. F what people say. Go Birds. Absolutely, Joe. Philly. Absolutely. Yeah. F Sileo. The chump banned me. Oh, well, I haven't been banned by him yet. But still, I just want to know, like, it's one thing. You want to say the Eagles are terrible? There are going to be a lot of people in power rankings that have the Eagles not even in their top 10 anymore. All right, whatever. You love Dan Sileo. You're nuts. Like, I get making shock jock comments. But this one here, delegitimizing what we did last year because of something we did this year, is the most asinine of asinine comments I've heard in a long time. Like, last year makes no difference. What is going on? I hate national media. I hate big name media. That's why you should turn that crap off. Listen to PSN, Trending in the AM every single morning, because we don't do that kind of stuff here. We have real conversation. Philly is the Bermuda Triangle of media support. You're either with us or lost in the fog. That's a great way to put it, Chandler. I like that. I like that philosophy on it right there. It is. It's crazy. It's crazy. It really is. And guess what? Tomorrow, power rankings. I release my weekly power rankings for the newbies, every single Wednesday on this show. And I still got the Eagles number one over the 49ers. One game does not change an entire season. One loss does not say the Eagles are done. The Eagles are still the best damn team in football record-wise. You had the Chiefs go down this week. You had the Jags go down this week. Everybody still thinks the Chiefs had the best shot to make the Super Bowl. They got 4 losses on the season. I'm not moving off of my Eagles yet. Now, Dallas and Sunday could be a different story if we go and we blow that game. But hell, even if we lose to Dallas on Sunday, if I would have told you we were 10-3, 13 games into the season, every single person would say, excellent, I'll take that without a shadow of a doubt, K1. And yet, if we lose on Sunday, the world's falling to everybody. Even though, big picture, 10-3 in this NFL is still controlling your own destiny, especially with the Giants twice and the Cardinals in the final 3 weeks. This game is the Washington loss last year. Yeah, the 49ers game? Yeah, absolutely. Look, everybody wrote us off then. Hell, everybody wrote us off when we only beat the Texans by whatever last year. Everybody wrote us off on that 1-point loss or win against the Colts last year. That's all. I don't know what this is for. But yeah, if that's peace out, great. I don't know. I'm not even sure what you're signing me for there. It's so funny. The national media, the national narrative. It's just I don't even know how to feel sometimes when like do I want to criticize them and give them the time of day, like the time of my own thought process? I kind of have to. But on the flip side, it's like, man, if we just stopped listening, if every single person just tuned out of these guys, maybe they wouldn't have the platform they have anymore. Maybe. I don't know. But it's frustrating. No, the Jets game is more comparable to the Washington loss. We played down to the competition. We just got outplayed and outcoached in the Niners game. Look, the Jets game is going to be one that haunts me, but we moved on from that loss. That was almost a worse loss than the 49ers because the Jets were not a good team. No, they were still starting Zach Wilson. Which, on a side note, the Jets might want to go back to Zach Wilson, but yet Zach Wilson says, "I don't know if I want to be back as your starting quarterback." There's a whole episode of of a player's desire to play football right there that we could have on the person Zach Wilson. We're not going to have that. We're not a Jets guy here, Jets team here, Jets show here. But it's something there that needs to be discussed with Zach Wilson. Eagles lose to Cowboys. They do not control their own destiny. Um, I guess maybe statistically speaking, but I still think they would have the ability to win out. But 49ers still have 2 tough games left on their schedule. The Cowboys still have 3 tough games on their schedule. If we win out after Dallas, it puts us at so that would be 3. If we win out after Dallas, it still puts us at 14-3. Are you telling me that everybody else, the Cowboys or 49ers, are going to be better than 14-3? That's just my thought process there. So the Flyers beat the Penguins 2 games in a row. We have that going for us. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, Big Al, I love the Flyers, and I've been trying to bring Flyers back into the conversation. Hell, I made a new intro video. It sucks, but I made it myself, all by myself. I even put the Flyers in the intro video because I think they deserve some credit. But you know what? It's Eagles right now. Hell, I got Sixers and Phillies notes down here, and we're what like 80 minutes into this show. We have 70 minutes in this show. Haven't even thought about mentioning them. Even if y'all lose Sunday, most likely you'll win the division. I don't want the division though, Lucio, because our team is so banged up. The Eagles need the first round bye, which means you got to get the number 1 seed, which means we got to finish ahead of the 49ers as well. And I know some people will say the 49ers have a better path to an extent because they beat us and that they'd own the tiebreaker. But they still got the Ravens and the Seahawks on their schedule, amongst other games, where we've got Dallas and then we got Seattle and then we got nothing but cakewalks at the end. Teams that are going to be packing it up, packing it in, ready for the off season to begin. Yeah, the question for y'all is the first seed. We need that first seat more than ever, not just because of the home field advantage for you guys coming to Philly to play a playoff game, but also we need that 1 seat so we get that bye week. Jalen Hurts is going to need time to rest. We for as many young greats on our team that we have, for every young player on the Eagles team that you can name, there's an old veteran opposite him that needs a breather. Look at the target distribution. Last few games, quarterbacks doing so much better. Need to get home to the quarterback more. And big shock, our backup linebackers couldn't cover the best short game in the NFL. Yes, Chandler, the Darius Slay and James Bradbury narrative, it's a tough conversation point for me, Chandler, because the last couple of weeks, their numbers, their stats, the box score says that very few passes are being completed their way. Very few yards are being given up. Quarterback ratings targeting them are better. Or how much of it is that just the opposing team adjusts and just doesn't throw their way? I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're playing better or other teams are just adjusting to what's being thrown and see how weak we are at the slot, at safety, at linebacker, and are targeting those guys. Because it's not like Darius Slay is having 20 targets thrown his way. He's having like 3 targets thrown his way. So it's really hard to judge that. I don't think Darius Slay and James Bradbury are as bad as people think. I also don't think they're getting much better than people think. I think they are just average at this point. If our line got home, got more sacks, they'd be better. The whole team would be better. I put just as much blame on everyone on the defense. Again on Sunday, Brock Purdy. How many times did he almost get sacked? I've been preaching this since week one. The almost sack category needs to become an official stat for my purposes. In fact, I might keep my notebook next to me on Sunday against Dallas and try to track how many almost sacks we miss. Phil doesn't care about hockey. Yeah, right. People don't understand this. You heard that? You got my little rhyme there? I was trying. It didn't come out as well as I thought it was. Okay, well, people will find this hard to believe. My first tattoo was a Phillies tattoo. I've been going to Phillies games since 1986, but I've probably been to as many Flyers games as any other sport in my life. I love the Flyers. It's just it's just like the old saying, sex sells. Well, hockey does not sell. Hockey talk does not grow a morning show. Hockey talk does nothing positive in the Philadelphia sports airwaves. It just doesn't. That's why you don't hear WIP, who airs the games, or the Fanatic. You don't even hear the channel that airs the games on the radio talking about them on even a little bit on any given day. So, yeah, hockey just I miss caring about hockey. I do. The missed tackles were a sign of fatigue. After those two Niners possessions, they imposed their will on us. You're spot on. Jamoro X, is that how you say it? 3 games. I had somebody come to me on Twitter, I think it was, or maybe it was in a replay comment. Because everybody keeps hearing me talk about 3 games in 13 days and what that does. That's a big deal. And someone's like, what? Every team plays 3 games in 13 days all the time. No, they do not. Like, it's not just the 3 games in 13 days. An overtime game the week before. 170 snaps in the previous 2 games. Like, the defense is just gassed. Like, beyond belief gassed. So, there is that to it, too. I think if we just say, you take the exact team of the 49ers on Sunday, and the exact team, no more players, no less players, whatever. You take that exact game, give the Eagles the first round bye, and then play the 49ers round 2 of the playoffs in Philly, we smoke them. Well, maybe not smoke them. We beat them. No. We don't smoke them. We beat them. With a rested defense, that game is 100% different, and I do not doubt that at all, that fatigue played a part in it. Bad play, injuries, a lot of things played into it, but fatigue is definitely, with this, and this is a perfect point for K1's words, without a shadow of a doubt, fatigue played a role in Sunday. Absolutely. Phil lays awake at night and says, and whispers, almost sack. I've instead of white noise playing, I have it playing in the back of my ears. Almost sack, almost sack, almost sack, almost sack. Apparently, the size coverage schemes allow for our defensive backs to decide whether they play press or coverage. Didn't know that. 97.5 is the Sixers and Flyers, WIP, Eagles and Phillies. And none of them are trending in the AM. I mean, they're always complaining about ratings over there. Their ratings would fall even further if they put me on the air, without a shadow of a doubt. What's that, my 4th time saying that today? It's a big deal, especially through this stretch, and then had a mini bye. Yeah, this schedule did us no favors. Not at all. Without a doubt. The schedule, the way it was written for us and our opponents, no favors. But you know what? We're not making excuses. We're moving on to the next week. Without a doubt, we're moving on. I thought we were at acceptance. We're acceptance. We're still discussing, but we're at acceptance. We might be at anger. I'm not angry. I'm never angry. I'm always a happy person. Having Shaq and Cunningham will be a huge help. That's the question, though. Kaba, will Cunningham be back? Hamstring injuries linger. Do you want him back? Do you want him to get an extra week of rest? We need this game. So if Cunningham can play, we've got to kind of push him. Shaq and Cunningham will be better than Morrow and Ellis. You'll mix Morrow into that trio, and then we'll go from there. Get Cunningham as much as he can get out there. However you get him out there, whatever treatment to get him out there. Say we get this win, we get next week's win against Seattle, then you can rest against the Giants. Get us this 1 seat, and then you can have 2, 3, 4 weeks off if you need it to rest that hamstring. But we need this 1 seat, and we need it now. So, yeah, for sure. Phil's crushing the Kubler-Ross scale. I ain't crushing nothing. You know, I can't win with the morning show. Sometimes I get 100 views. Sometimes I get 250 views. I only got 20 likes on this video today. I can't win. I'm not winning on anything right now. I'm not crushing anything right now. If anything, I'm stalling right now. But that's all your fault, K1. It's all your fault. It's all Eric's fault for bringing his dream into the show today. All his fault. Let me look at these notes. What else did I write down? Eagles related. We touched on the Rashad Penny thing. Maybe we'll use that as a jumping off point tomorrow. We touched on that there, yes. Brian Ball. We'll talk offense. I'll save the Brian Baldinger comment about the wide receivers for tomorrow. Nick Sirianni. There's a question there about Nick Sirianni leaving guys in too long last week. That's, Adam said earlier in the show, DeAndre Swift is listed as questionable for Sunday at this point, very early in the week. But Nick Sirianni leaving a lot of our starters offensively and defensively in far too long on Sunday. He's lucky that no one got hurt severely. He's lucky that Jalen Hurts didn't get hurt even more. We'd get more likes if we talked more about Eric's dream. I doubt it. I do doubt it. I also want to see Ertz back so we can finally use 12 personnel. Yeah, Kava, if Zach Ertz comes back, great, sure. I'll get excited. But it'll be more nostalgic than anything else. If anybody's concerned that Shaq Leonard might be washed or Kevin Byard was past his prime, then Zach Ertz is worse than that. He's also not a blocking tight end. Dallas Goedert's going to come back, but banged up a little bit. If you're going to use Zach Ertz in a rotation with Dallas Goedert, but you're not going to put Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz out there at the same time, because then Dallas Goedert will have to stay in to be the blocker of the two tight ends. And you're not taking Dallas Goedert off the field, or you're not leaving him on the field just to block. He's the route run. So if Dallas Goedert is going to miss more time, sure. But I don't know if Zach Ertz really provides much on-field help. He would be in the same role that Julio Jones is in. Julio Jones isn't doing much of anything. Not just because he's a little older and longer in the tooth, but because there's only so many targets. So you throw the ball to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith so much. You got Jalen Hurts is running. We want them to run the ball more as well. There's only so many mouths to feed. And Zach Ertz, stored, nostalgic, it would be fun, but I just don't. I'm not going to be upset when he signs with somebody else like Jacksonville or Baltimore. And he might still sign here. I don't know. 3 new defensive starters, 3 new rotation pieces. The side can't succeed without adequate personnel. I think that's a fair point. I think that's fair. Stahl is a top 10 run blocker. He's definitely not a top 10 route runner. He's definitely not a top 10 pass catcher as a tight end. Stahl's okay. I wanted an upgrade from Stahl. I wanted Zach Ertz before week 1 of the season started when there was rumors he was on the block. Now at this point in the season, now that I see what our team is, I don't know if he's needed, but yeah. Eric, your dreams, man. It's all about you. Kicked it off with a therapy statement. Oh, okay. Gotcha. K1's fault. Yeah, you dreamed about Julie Ertz and half of the Delaware Valley, probably. Is Zach Ertz better than anything we currently have, given the fact that this is this is not a 12 personnel defense that we run anymore. If you're going to run 12 personnel, who's coming off the field? So I don't know that it's a necessity at this point. It's a fun idea, but I don't think it's a necessity. We stink at desperation if that comes true. Yeah, I don't know about that per se. Look, it wouldn't be bad. The morale in the locker room would love to have somebody like Zach Ertz. He's loved by everyone in the NFL. Any locker room, whether they need him or not, that adds Zach Ertz would be extremely helpful or happy. But he's not going to play cornerback. He's not going to play safety. He's not going to play linebacker. He's going to play third string tight end. So, yeah, you get Grant Calcaterra on IR, or you put Albert O on waivers, whatever. But Albert O don't do nothing. So you're replacing somebody that does nothing that might have some value down the line with somebody that's not going to do anything and actually can do less than some of the others. At least Albert O and Grant Calcaterra play special teams. Ertz ain't playing special teams. And you're not going to bump Dallas Goedert down to special teams for it. But I don't get I get it, but I don't think it's necessary, is I guess the easier way to say it. If 49ers were smart, they would have let Mariota score a couple touchdowns just to start a quarterback controversy in Philadelphia. Ah, that's funny. I like that. That's high quality entertainment there from you, Mister, on that one right there. Trade Bradbury for whatever we can get for him. Draft Kool-Aid McKinsky in the first round. Draft Jeremiah Trotter Jr. if he does well enough. Sign Shaq to a 1-year deal. Man, Zach is so over this season. He's already got his entire offseason plan mapped out. Zach, no offense. I love you. I appreciate your support. I am not worried about next offseason already. I know there's draft experts that are doing it, but I'm not focused on the draft at all. One iota right now. I'm focused on Dallas. And now we can do better than we did against the 49ers. I'm not worried about off-season moves yet like that. And I think that's too far off. Only so many targets. I want Ertz too, but he's an 8th-inning pinch hitter right now. Yeah, probably take Julio's red zone reps. And what's Julio doing? Julio's doing nothing. It's basically bringing in Zach Ertz right now is the exact equivalent of bringing in Julio Jones when we did. It really does nothing. But it might help morale. It might help the locker room. Not that the locker room needs help, but it'd be an extra boost. It's someone the fans love. There are positives to bringing in Zach Ertz, but Zach Ertz is not going to win us a game, and Zach Ertz isn't going to lose us a game. Zach Ertz is just going to be there. He's just going to be another quiet piece at it. How does other quarterbacks utilize their multiple weapons, and we can only have one guy go off at a time? I don't know. Only one wide receiver or Deebo Samuel went off. Kittle and Ayuk were semi in check. Both our wide receivers, Smith and Brown both got 100 on Sunday, didn't they? So I don't know. This is the worst therapy session. Nah, we're having fun today. Therapy was Monday. Today is having fun. While we are at it, why not unretire Deshaun, cut Mariota, and unretire Vic? Hey, I saw some footage of Deshaun run some routes on the sideline Sunday. It looks like he's still got to move. He's got a few extra LBs on him. Maybe he can play linebacker. I don't know. I feel better already. I feel great today. I'm feeling great. I am. Sorry, Zach. I love you, man, but I'm not worried about the offseason. Zach got Cancun plans already. Yeah, he's like some of the other people out there that they got their tee times booked already. We lost the 49ers. We should be booking our tee time. I don't. I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all to move on. Can't wait for our next session tomorrow, 8 a.m. because we're here every day doing this. K1, Eric's dream got you feeling. Yeah, K1's going to go to sleep and see if he dreams similar. I like to live vicariously, Martin. What can I say? Yeah, okay. Phil's idea of fun is awful bowels of misery. You know what, Marsha? Me and you, we're going to fight one day. Me and you. You're always like that. You're always calling out my thoughts like that. You always think I'm negative. I'm not negative. Those positive, happy guys. If I was negative, there's damn no way I'd be doing this every single morning if I was negative. That's right. Pound that like button. I mean, how did we get to 21 likes only on this show today? You guys got to do better. Come on. A lot of newbies coming in today. A lot of newbies coming in the last week or two. I love that. I love to have the core 12 continue to grow. At some point, we're going to have it at the core 22. I'm just playing. I know you're playing. I know. And I'm just playing right back at you. I would never fight you. I wouldn't want to hurt you like that. Anyway, we'll definitely touch on the offense. I want to touch on the running back situation and conversation a little bit more tomorrow. For sure. With the power rankings, we'll see if Justin Crosby's on to talk Sixers. We didn't even talk Sixers today. Kelly Oubre will be back tomorrow night for the Sixers. Got to talk about that. James Harden made statements about Daryl Morey. And for some reason, I don't even believe him because I never believe a word that comes out of James Harden's mouth. We'll touch on that with Justin Crosby tomorrow if he's on. Um, Phillies extended Rob Thompson, their manager. We didn't get to touch on that at all. Um, but in a sports perspective, whether it's NFL, NBA, Major League, NHL, MLS soccer, everybody's so happy that Rob Thompson got extended. But in reality, how often have you ever seen in any sport a manager go into the last year of their deal? A head coach going to the last year of their deal. There's no way they were letting Rob Thompson play without that, or coach without that security blanket of one more year added on after the deal if he wanted it. So that, needed to be discussed. Now we got to watch this Eagles loss with Sixers talk. Look, there's some Sixers things to talk about. They've had a long layoff, so I kind of feel like I've kind of forgot about him for a few days now, but there's some interesting things happening with the Sixers for sure. Shaq Leonard better be in the facility right now. Yeah, I still got a problem with that, Marshawn. I still got a problem that it took him so long to decide where he wanted to be. It bothers me. It really does. But it is what it is. Are we saying Martian's name wrong? Like, is it Mars related? Like Martian? I have no idea. I'm the one that called Albert Aqua Bowman. Do you think I care about how if I'm saying Marshawn's name right or not? I am not. Because I say everybody's name wrong, except for Lamade Zacchaeus. Hell, Isaiah Pater. I didn't even say the running back for the Chiefs' name. I've changed his name. Yes, it's Mars related, Earthlings. Yeah, he's not even from this planet. He's probably a Cowboys fan from Mars. Just in this comment section on guys, it's Dallas week, guys. We hate Dallas week. Lamade. I love saying it. Lamade. Lamade. Yeah, I mean, you talk about Zach Ertz, and you're not going to see Lamade out on the field as much. We don't want to lose our Lamade. Why would we? Anyway, we'll pick up with offensive talk tomorrow. Power rankings tomorrow. Sixers tomorrow, of course. There, I touched on the Phillies and Rob Thompson. I feel better that I mentioned their names. Yeah, exactly. Respectfully, right? Of course, Chandler. You gotta add the respectively after the FU to Dallas. I love it. I agree too. Phil, please don't disrespect me by saying I'm a Cowboys fan. You think you know someone? Is that the biggest insult you can make to an Eagles fan? Call them out and say you must be a Cowboys fan secretly. Like, is that the worst? That might be a post I got to make after the show. Cowboys fan secretly. Is that the worst insult that you can level on an Eagles fan? It very well might be. Um, yeah, I'm not going to put all those comments up, Chandler. But yeah, I got you, man. I feel the same way, for sure. That's worse than calling a guy. It might be. It might be accurate, K1, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some of your comments are coming up on this screen, not on that screen, because I think YouTube censors bad words, guys. Just so you know. So can't really put all the curse words up because I don't need this show getting too much dinged wise here. Santa Clara Niners. Lamine. Yeah, let's just end it on Lamine right there. We're gonna start the wrap up process. Final minute of the show, guys. I need you guys to do some investigative reporting for me. Where's TMC been? 2 days. No mad chatter in the comments. The guy in witness protection or something? I don't know. What my days have been different the last 2 days. Without no mad chatter blowing up the comments. He kept saying the 49ers were frauds, and since he was proven wrong, we haven't seen him. We got to find out. Somebody's got to find the mad chatter for me. Anyway, we're going to wrap up Trending the AM right there here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Again, I always check. Any replays? Anybody that watches on replay. So make sure you hit the like, comments. I checked. We had 7, 8, 9 comments yesterday from people on the replays. And they were all negative, but I still read them and I still responded to them all. So make sure you do the like and the share and subscribe. Make sure you tune in live if you're watching this on replay because I'd love to get your opinions live on the show. Lamade might be the best name you have knighted anyone on the stream. Yeah, Lamade. That's right. No bad words at the moment. There's a lot of bad words coming in. You can't see them all because they get they get muted on the YouTube. I could see them on the stream, but not on the YouTube. TMC went into hiding after weeks calling, the Niners frauds. Exactly. The man chatter was an undercover cop for the 49ers. He might have been. Who knows? He's no rat, though. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder about the man chatter. Anyway, we're wrapping it up right there. He's Tony Prescott. Yeah, maybe. Everybody have a great Tuesday. Enjoy your day. Enjoy it, and we'll be back tomorrow with more Eagles talk. We'll switch the conversation offensively speaking, and whatever other news comes up today, we'll talk about a lot of things. Oakland is greater than Santa Clara, or is it, I don't know. I spent 2 weeks in San Francisco, Marshawn. I love San Francisco. I just wish it was cheaper. Go Birds. That's absolutely correct. Have a great day to you, Zach, and to you, Adam, and to everybody. Thank you all very much. We're going to end it right there. Trending the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. I am Phil Stiefel. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Birds.